My name is Cassidy, and I'm at a bar on a Friday night when my best friend Mara makes a terrible suggestion. You should do it, she says, pointing at a man sitting alone at a table in the corner. He's wearing a Rolex that probably costs more than my car. He's drinking what looks like expensive whiskey. He's looking at his phone like the entire world bores him. The bar we're at is upscale, the kind of place where the drinks cost $20 and the bartenders wear suspenders. I've never actually been able to afford to be here, but Mara insisted we celebrate her new job by going somewhere fancy, which meant somewhere I couldn't really afford to be, but was going anyway because that's what best friends do. I've known Mara since college. We met in a dorm room when I was hiding from my roommate who had a boyfriend over, and Mara was literally living in the residence hall library because her home situation was complicated. We became friends immediately, the way you do when you're both 20 years old and just desperate for someone who understands you. Now we're 32, and we're still best friends, though our lives have diverged significantly. Mara works in corporate finance and makes approximately 3 times what I make as a graphic designer. I have a tiny apartment and a roommate who microwaves fish at 2 a.m. Mara has a condo in Brickell and a lifestyle that involves expensive bars. Do what? I ask, turning to look at her properly. Mara is naturally beautiful in a way that I've always envied. Tall, blonde, the kind of person who looks effortless even when she's clearly put in effort. She's wearing a dress that probably costs more than a month of my rent. Seduce him, she says, but badly. Like, be the most ridiculous gold digger he's ever encountered. Make him so uncomfortable that he blocks you immediately. I laugh because this is clearly ridiculous. Why would I do that? Because he looks like he needs to be humbled. He looks like he's never met a woman who didn't swoon over his wallet. I bet he'd be hilarious if he thought you were trying to trap him into marriage. I look at the man again. He is, objectively, attractive. He's probably in his late 30s or early 40s. He has dark hair that's perfectly styled. He's wearing a suit that cost more than my car. Everything about him screams wealth and power and the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. He also looks exactly like the kind of guy who would find a ridiculous gold digger prank absolutely infuriating. That's a terrible idea, I say, but I'm also kind of interested. I've been in a dry spell romantically for about 8 months, which is a long time to not have human connection beyond hugs from friends. And there's something appealing about the idea of approaching someone completely out of my league and just seeing what happens. What's the bet? If you can convince him that you're genuinely trying to marry him for money, I'll buy you drinks for a month, Mara says. She's warming to the idea. I can tell because she's leaning forward, and her eyes are getting that gleam they get when she's about to do something that her parents would disapprove of. Like, I want him to be worried that you're serious. I want him to question his life choices. That's the goal. And if I fail, then you buy me drinks for a month. This is a stupid bet. This is the kind of stupid bet that people make when they're slightly drunk and feeling confident. But I'm definitely slightly drunk. Mara ordered us expensive martinis, and I've been drinking them like they're water, and I'm definitely feeling confident, so I agree. Okay, I say, I'll do it. Really? Mara grins. Yes. Oh my God, yes. This is going to be amazing. Go talk to him, be terrible, make him regret existing. I stand up, smoothing down my dress, which is not the fancy dress that Mara is wearing. My dress is from Target, and it cost $35. But it's a nice dress, black and flattering, and I've paired it with heels that I found at TJ Maxx. I'm not going to blend in at this bar, but I'm also not going to look completely out of place. I take a breath and walk over to his table, and I sit down across from him without waiting for an invitation. Hi, I say, trying to sound confident and not terrified. I'm Cassidy. You look rich. He looks up from his phone, and his expression suggests that no one has ever approached him quite so directly. There's surprise there, definitely. But there's also something that might be amusement, which I didn't expect. That's one way to introduce yourself, he says. His voice is lower than I expected. It's calm and measured, like someone who's used to being listened to. He's setting his phone down on the table, which suggests he's at least somewhat interested in this interaction, which is more than I expected. I like to be straightforward about what I want, I reply, sitting down properly now, feeling more confident with every second that passes. And what I want is a man with money. You look like a man with money, so here's my pitch. I'm very attractive. I gesture to myself, which is slightly ridiculous because I'm not going to pretend I'm a supermodel, but I'm also not unattractive, and confidence is a thing. I'm willing to pretend to like whatever interests you. I can laugh at your jokes even if they're not funny. And I'm not asking for much, just a nice apartment, an unlimited credit card, and someone to take to events where people care about that kind of thing. He stares at me for a long moment. I'm waiting for him to tell me to leave. I'm waiting for him to be insulted or offended or to simply ignore me. Those are the reactions I was expecting. Are you serious right now? He asks instead. Completely serious, I say, which is technically a lie because I'm on a stupid dare, but the words themselves are coming out convincingly. I've calculated that I'm worth approximately $300,000 a year in emotional labor, so that's the minimum I'd be asking for. That's the most honest thing anyone's ever told me, he says slowly. That's like aggressively straightforward. He's not angry, he's not insulted, he seems amused, or maybe interested, it's hard to tell. But he's definitely not kicking me out, which means the dare might actually be working. I'm a straightforward person, I reply, settling back in my seat like I belong here. I believe in being authentic about what I want. I want financial security and access to nice things. You probably want companionship and someone to make you look good in public. We can help each other. He puts his phone down on the table, and he really looks at me for the first time. This is the moment where I realize he has very nice eyes. They're dark brown, almost black, but they're intelligent eyes. They're the kind of eyes that suggest someone who's thinking about what you're saying rather than just listening to you. What's your name again? He asks. Cassidy. I'm Marcus, he says, and I'm going to be honest with you. That was the most refreshing thing anyone has said to me in probably 5 years. Does that mean you're interested in my proposal? I ask. I'm interested in getting to know you better, he says, but not as a transaction, as a person. Can we start over? This is not how the prank is supposed to go. He's supposed to be insulted and kick me out. He's supposed to block my number and tell his friends about the crazy girl who approached him with such a ridiculous offer. Instead, he's being charming and looking at me like I'm actually interesting. I say. Sure. We can start over. Hi, I'm Marcus, he says, extending his hand. What's your actual story? I shake his hand, and I realize that I'm about to ruin this by lying to him, and for some reason, that bothers me more than it probably should. I only just met this person. I don't owe him the truth. I owe Mara a month of not buying her drinks if I succeed with the dare. But I've already committed to the prank, and I've already started lying, so I'm going to keep going. That's what you do. You commit to the bit and see where it goes. I'm between jobs, I lie, which is easy because I'm about half a drink away from where lying becomes as easy as breathing. I'm focusing on finding the right man with the right financial portfolio. That's very direct, Marcus says. I appreciate that. And that's when I realize that this is going to be harder than I thought, because Marcus seems like the kind of person who actually appreciates honesty, and I'm standing here lying to his face. Marcus asks for my number, and I give it to him because the prank requires me to. He calls the next day, which surprises me. I expected him to call, but not so quickly. I expected him to be playing it cool, being mysterious, doing the whole expensive guy thing where he makes women wait. Instead, he calls Saturday morning and asks me to dinner. There's this restaurant I like, he says. It's expensive, but I like the food. Would you want to go tonight? Tonight? I ask. It's already 10 a.m. That doesn't leave me much time to mentally prepare for lying to someone's face for an entire evening. I know it's short notice, he says, but I'm leaving town on Monday for a business trip, and I'd like to see you before then. So we're meeting tonight, at an expensive restaurant, where I need to be, in the words of Mara, aggressively straightforward about wanting his money. I hang up with Marcus and immediately call Mara. He's taking you out. Mara sounds delighted. Oh my God, that's amazing. What restaurant? I don't know yet. He's picking the place. Where's something nice? Not like actually nice. Wear something that looks like it cost more than it did. Make him think you have money too. Make him question whether you actually need his money. This is getting increasingly complicated, which is what happens when you commit to a prank that maybe wasn't fully thought through. By 7 p.m., I'm standing in front of my closet trying to find something appropriate for a date with a man I'm actively trying to trick. I settle on a black dress that I actually bought for a work presentation 2 years ago. It's simple and elegant, and it's the closest thing I have to looks expensive but is actually cheap. The restaurant Marcus picks is so upscale that the menu doesn't have prices, which is a bad sign. It means the prices are so high they don't even want you to see them. The kind of restaurant where you only go if you're either very rich or very stupid. I'm falling into the very stupid category, but Marcus doesn't need to know that. "You look beautiful," Marcus says when I arrive. He's already at the table, and he stands up to pull my chair out, which is the kind of gesture that old-fashioned guys make, and which I find both incredibly charming and incredibly annoying, because it's making it harder to maintain my gold digger persona. "Thanks," I say, sitting down. "You look like you cost a lot of money." He laughs, which is genuinely reassuring, because it means my joke landed. "So tell me about yourself," Marcus says, seeming unbothered by the fact that I'm immediately going to order like I'm trying to bankrupt him. "What do you do?" "I'm between jobs," I lie smoothly, which is my prepared answer, and which feels increasingly wrong every time I say it. "I'm actually a very successful graphic designer. I have my own client list, I charge good rates. I make enough money to live comfortably, just not enough to eat at restaurants that don't put prices on the menu. I'm focusing on finding the right man with the right financial portfolio." "That's very direct," Marcus says. "I appreciate that." "I believe in being honest about my intentions," I reply, which is hilarious because I'm literally lying about everything. "Some women pretend they care about personality or values or whatever. I think that's insulting. I want money. You have money. Let's not pretend this is anything more complicated than that." I'm reading him as I'm saying this, trying to figure out if he's buying it. He's looking at me with an expression that I can't quite place. It's not contempt. It's not dismissal. It might actually be genuine appreciation. "You're remarkable," Marcus says, and he actually looks impressed. "Has anyone ever told you that you're remarkable?" This is not the reaction I expected. I expected him to think I was ridiculous and dismiss me immediately. Instead, he seems to find my naked greed somehow endearing, which is either really good for the prank or really bad for my emotional well-being. "Not really," I admit. "Most people think I'm kind of basic." "You're not basic," Marcus says. "You're honest, that's rare." The waiter arrives, and I order the most expensive things I can find, which includes caviar and a bottle of wine that costs more than my weekly groceries. Marcus doesn't even blink. He just orders his food and continues talking to me like I'm not actively trying to empty his wallet. "So what do you do?" I ask. "Besides have money." "I'm a businessman," Marcus says vaguely. "Import-export, very boring. Lots of meetings, not interesting at all." The way he says it, it sounds like he's downplaying something. There's a quality to his vagueness that suggests he's maybe not being entirely truthful. But I'm so busy lying to him that I can't really critique his honesty. "How much money are we talking about?" I ask, because that's what a gold digger would ask, and I'm committed to this prank now. "Enough," Marcus says. "Enough that you never have to worry about money again." "That's good," I say, "because I worry about money constantly. I have like $50,000 in student debt, and I live in a terrible apartment with a roommate who microwaves fish. I want out of all of it. This is actually true. My roommate really does microwave fish, and it's disgusting." "If you stay with me, you're out of all of it," Marcus says. "You can move into my place. I have 3 bedrooms. You can convert one into a closet if you want." "That's weirdly generous for a guy who just met me," I say. "I like you," Marcus replies. "You're honest, that's rare." The irony of this statement is absolutely not lost on me, because I'm being the most dishonest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm sitting across from a man who genuinely seems to appreciate honesty, and I'm actively lying to him about who I am and what I want. By the time dinner is over, I'm starting to feel genuinely bad about the prank. Marcus has paid for dinner with a credit card he didn't even look at. He's asked me questions about myself and actually listened to my answers. He's been charming and funny and interesting, and I've been lying to him the entire time. Over the next month, I become increasingly ridiculous in my gold-digging efforts. Marcus and I see each other constantly. He asks me to move into his place after exactly 1 week of dating, which is fast, but I'm on a prank, so I say yes. His apartment is a penthouse in Brickell, all floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive furniture, and the kind of view that makes you understand what it means to be rich. I accidentally mention that I've always wanted a Birkin bag. The Birkin bag is the holy grail of luxury handbags. It costs like $10,000, and you have to be on a waiting list. Somehow, a Birkin bag arrives at Marcus's apartment the next day. I don't know how he did it. I don't ask. I casually say that I hate my car, which is a 2009 Honda Civic that's held together with spite and duct tape. 2 days later, Marcus gives me keys to a new Range Rover. It's parked in the building's garage, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I mention that my skincare routine is costing me money, and he signs me up for a $10,000 a month membership to an exclusive skincare spa. I go one time and I feel like I'm committing fraud the entire time. It's absurd. It's like he's trying to make me happy by buying me things, and I'm supposed to be trying to make him think I'm a terrible gold digger with no redeeming qualities. Except that's not how it's working out at all. The real problem is that I'm falling in love with him. This was not part of the plan. The plan was to prank him for like a week, get him to realize I was ridiculous, laugh about it, and move on with my life. Instead, I've been dating him for a month, I've moved into his penthouse, and I'm starting to have feelings. I need to talk to you, I tell Mara when I finally call her in a panic. We're meeting at a coffee shop because I can't risk talking about this at Marcus's apartment where he might hear me. What? Mara asks, and I can immediately tell that she knows something's wrong based on my tone. I think I'm falling in love with him, I say, which is terrifying to admit out loud. Oh no, Mara says. Oh no, 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 no. What does that mean, oh no? It means you're supposed to be pranking this guy, and instead, you're actually dating him. And more importantly, you're actually falling for him. I am not falling for him, I say, but I'm lying, and Mara can tell I'm lying. Cassidy, you've been dating him for a month. You spend more time at his apartment than you spend at yours. You literally told me yesterday that you want to wake up next to him for the rest of your life. That was the gold digger talking. No, Mara says, and her voice is serious now. That was you talking, the real you, not the fake gold digger version. I know she's right. That's the worst part of this entire situation. I can feel the difference between me playing a character and me being genuine, and increasingly, the genuine parts are winning out. What am I supposed to do? I ask. Tell him the truth, Mara says. Tell him about the dare. Tell him that you started out trying to prank him, but then you actually fell in love with him. He's going to hate me. Probably, Mara agrees. But at least you'll be honest, and honestly, maybe he won't hate you. Maybe he'll understand. I don't tell Marcus the truth immediately, because I'm a coward, and also because there's no good way to tell someone that you've been lying to them about your entire identity for a month. I try to figure out the right moment. I try to find the right words. I try to think of a way to explain that I lied to him for the first month of our relationship, and that I've been accepting increasingly expensive gifts while maintaining a false identity. Spoiler alert, there is no right way to do this. So instead, I do what any reasonable person would do in this situation. I keep dating him while secretly planning how to confess. I keep accepting gifts. I keep pretending that I'm a gold digger who doesn't have a successful design business and a client list and actual financial stability. One night, Marcus and I are sitting on his penthouse balcony, because of course he has a balcony that overlooks all of Miami, and he says, I have something I need to tell you. My heart stops. He knows. He's figured it out. Someone told him about the dare, or he noticed something, or he just realized that I'm not as shallow as I've been pretending to be. Okay, I say carefully, trying to prepare myself for rejection. I'm not actually an import-export, he says. I'm involved in organized crime. I'm a cartel boss. I've probably been responsible for at least 15 deaths. I make approximately $150 million a year. And I'm telling you this because I love you, and I can't love you while lying to you. I stare at him. So you're a criminal, I say slowly. Yes, he confirms. I'm a serious criminal. I run a drug cartel. I've done terrible things. And I love you, and you deserve to know who I actually am. This is not the confession I was expecting to hear. I was expecting to have to confess. Instead, Marcus is confessing to me, which feels like a plot twist that nobody asked for. How much do you love me? I ask, which is a weird question, but I need to understand if his love is genuine, or if it's just the kind of thing that criminals say when they're trying to control someone. Enough that I'm telling you the truth about who I am, he says. Enough that I'm putting myself at risk. Enough that I can't keep lying to you. So I tell him the truth too. I approached you on a dare, I say. My friend Mara bet me that I couldn't convince you that I was trying to marry you for money. I lied to you about my job. I lied to you about wanting to be a gold digger. I've been pretending to be someone I'm not for an entire month. Marcus is quiet for a very long time. So you were trying to trick me, he says finally. Yes, but then I actually fell in love with you, and now I'm the one who's a liar. But you're telling me the truth now, Marcus says. Which means you're better at honesty than I am, because I took a lot longer to tell you what I actually do. Your job is being a cartel boss. My job is lying about being a gold digger. These are not equivalent. Actually, Marcus says, they kind of are. You're lying about your financial situation. I'm lying about what I do for a living. We're both pretending to be people we're not. I'm not a criminal. No, he agrees. You're not, and that's good. I'm glad you're not a criminal, but I am. And I need to know, if you're going to stay with me knowing that. I think about this. I think about the fact that Marcus has money and power and a view of Miami from his penthouse. I think about the fact that he's attractive and charming and has somehow managed to make me feel genuinely loved even though I've been lying to him. I also think about the fact that he's responsible for at least 15 deaths. I need to think about this, I say. That's fair, Marcus replies. Take whatever time you need. I don't sleep that night. I sit in Marcus's penthouse, looking at the view of Miami, and I think about my life. I could leave. I could pack up my things and move out and go back to my apartment with the roommate who microwaves fish. I could go back to my normal life and pretend this never happened. Or I could stay. The thing about Marcus is that he's not evil. He's dangerous, yes. He's done terrible things, yes. But he's also someone who loved me enough to tell me the truth. He's someone who recognized that I was lying and didn't kick me out. He's someone who, in the midst of being a cartel boss, tried to see me as a human being. I call Mara at 3 a.m. Are you insane? She asks when I tell her what's going on. He's a cartel boss. He kills people. I know. And you're thinking about staying with him. I know. Why? Because I love him, I say, and I'm surprised by how much I mean it. Cassidy, you love him because he's bought you expensive things and treated you well. That's not love. That's Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe, I admit. Or maybe I love him because he's funny and interesting, and he made me laugh even when I was actively trying to trick him. Or maybe I love him because he's capable of genuinely connecting with another person despite being involved in organized crime. Or maybe I love him for all of those reasons. You're making a terrible decision. Probably, I agree, but it's my decision to make. I decide to stay with Marcus. Not because it's the smart decision. Definitely not because it's the safe decision. But because love isn't about smart or safe. Love is about choosing someone even when choosing them is complicated. We don't talk about the criminal stuff. Not right away. Instead, we just exist together in his penthouse, and we try to figure out how to be honest with each other going forward. I want to know about your business, I tell him one night. No, you don't, he says. I do. If I'm going to be with you, I want to know who you are, and your business is part of who you are. So he tells me. He tells me about the cartel. He tells me about the structure and the money laundering and the violence. He tells me about the people he's killed, not with pride, but with a kind of resigned sadness that suggests he's made peace with the terrible things he's done. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because you asked, he says, and because I love you, and because I think maybe I'm tired of being a criminal. 3 months after Marcus tells me the truth about his criminal activities, federal agents show up at his penthouse with warrants. They come in the morning, just as Marcus is getting out of the shower. There's a knock at the door, and I open it, and suddenly there are federal agents with badges and guns, and a warrant that says they're arresting Marcus for money laundering, drug trafficking, and murder. "Cassidy, go to the bedroom," Marcus says calmly, like he was expecting this. "Don't tell me what to do," I reply, which is stupid and unhelpful, but I'm in shock. "Go to the bedroom," he repeats, and this time there's something in his voice that makes me listen. I watch as they put handcuffs on him. I watch as they read him his rights. I watch as they take him away from his penthouse and his expensive life and his connection to me. He looks back at me one time before they take him out, and I can see on his face that he's genuinely sorry. Not sorry for being a criminal, but sorry that his being a criminal is going to affect me. After he's gone, I sit on his couch in his penthouse, and I think about what I'm going to do. I could leave. I could pack up all of my stuff, including all of the expensive gifts he's given me, and I could go back to my normal life. I could pretend this never happened, or I could wait for him. I call Mara. "He got arrested," I tell her. "Oh my God," she says. "Oh my God, Cassidy." "I know. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to wait for him," I say. "No, you're not." "Yes, I am," I say. "I'm going to wait for him to get out of prison, and we're going to build a life together." "You're insane," Mara says. "You're completely insane." "Probably," I agree. "But I'm in love with him, and he's in love with me, and that's what you do. You wait." The trial lasts for 4 months. Marcus's lawyers argue that he was just a businessman involved in import-export. The prosecution argues that he was a major cartel leader responsible for at least 20 deaths. The evidence is compelling and devastating. I attend every day of the trial. I sit in the gallery and I listen to testimony about the people Marcus has killed. I listen to evidence about money laundering. I listen to the prosecution paint a picture of Marcus as a cold, calculated criminal. And then I listen to the defense argue that Marcus is actually a good person who made bad choices. It's the longest 4 months of my life. On the day of the sentencing, the judge looks at Marcus and says something along the lines of, "You have committed serious crimes. You have hurt people. But you have shown remorse, and you have demonstrated a capacity for genuine connection. I'm sentencing you to 8 years in federal prison, with eligibility for parole after 5 years. 8 years, that's a long time. But it's also less than the potential life sentence that the prosecution was asking for. As Marcus is being taken away, he looks at me, and he mouths, 'I love you.' And I mouth back, 'I'll wait.' I visit Marcus in federal prison for the first time on a Saturday afternoon, 3 weeks after his sentencing. The federal prison is approximately 90 minutes from Miami, located in a rural area that feels removed from civilization. It's the kind of place that was built specifically to house people who have done something wrong, and that's the only thing the architecture is designed to communicate. The visiting room is exactly what I expected. Fluorescent lights, plastic furniture, a pervasive sense of confinement and regulation. There are other visitors here, women mostly, along with a few men and some children. Everyone looks tired. Everyone looks like they're waiting for something that might never come. Marcus arrives in a tan prison uniform. He looks smaller somehow, diminished by the uniform and the fluorescent lights and the weight of what he's done. But his eyes are the same. They light up when he sees me, and for a moment, I forget that I'm sitting in a federal prison visiting a man who's been convicted of murder and drug trafficking. "Hi," I say, which is a stupid thing to say, but I'm not sure what else to say in this situation. "Hi," he replies, sitting across from me. "You came." "Of course I came," I say. "I told you I would wait." We're separated by a plexiglass barrier, which makes it so that we can't actually touch. There's a phone we have to speak through, which is both intimate and completely impersonal. I'm holding a phone, looking at Marcus through plexiglass, trying to have a real conversation while being acutely aware of the fact that we're not allowed to actually connect. "How are you?" I ask, which is a question I'm going to ask approximately 1 million times over the next 5 years. "I'm okay," he says. "It's weird being in here, but I knew I was going to be. I made the choices that led to this." So I'm processing it. Have they been treating you okay? Yeah, the guards are fine. The other inmates are fine. It's not pleasant, but it's not unbearable. I think the thing that's hardest is just the lack of control. I'm used to being in charge of everything, and now I have no control over anything. This is the beginning of the cycle that will define the next 5 years of my life. I visit Marcus every weekend. We have the same conversations. I tell him about my week. He tells me about his. We don't touch. We don't have privacy, but we stay connected. While Marcus is in prison, I throw myself into my design work with an intensity that surprises even me. It turns out that having a partner in prison is actually pretty good for career advancement, because all my emotional energy goes into work instead of into maintaining a relationship. I take on bigger clients. I charge more for my work. I start building a reputation as a designer who understands both aesthetics and functionality. Within a year of Marcus's arrest, I've hired my first employee. Her name is Zara, and she's a young designer who's just out of design school and hungry to learn. I teach her my design philosophy. I show her how to talk to clients. I help her develop her own style. By year 3 of Marcus's imprisonment, I've expanded to a second office location. I'm now employing 5 designers. I'm taking on projects across Miami. I'm becoming recognized in the design community as someone who creates meaningful spaces rather than just expensive spaces. You've really built something here, a colleague tells me at a design conference. Your studio is one of the most respected in Miami right now. And I think about the fact that I wouldn't have built any of this if Marcus hadn't been arrested. If I was still living in his penthouse, accepting his gifts, I probably would have stayed in that version of myself. But instead, I was forced to become the person I actually am, someone capable, independent, talented. I visit Marcus every single weekend for 5 years. 5 years of driving 90 minutes each way. 5 years of sitting in a visiting room. 5 years of conversations through plexiglass. 5 years of maintaining a relationship with someone I can't touch, can't hold, can't actually be with. There are times when I wonder if I'm making a terrible mistake. There are times when I think about leaving him and moving on with my life. There are times when I get tired of explaining to people why I'm waiting for a man who's in federal prison for murder. But then I visit him again, and he looks at me with genuine love, and I remember why I'm doing this. You should move on, Marcus tells me during one visit. It's year 4, and his release is starting to feel real instead of theoretical. You should find someone who's not in prison. You should build a life that doesn't involve driving 90 minutes each way every weekend. No, I say firmly, I'm not doing this. You deserve better than this. I deserve to be with someone I love, and I love you, so I'm staying. Marcus gets out of federal prison after serving 5 years of his 8-year sentence. Good behavior, participation in prison education programs, evidence that he's genuinely engaged in rehabilitation. The Federal Parole Board has approved his early release, and on a Thursday afternoon in October, he walks out through the prison gates. I've taken the day off from work. I've driven to the prison 2 hours early. I've parked in the visitors' parking area and I'm sitting in my car, waiting, knowing that when he comes through those gates, everything is going to change. When he finally walks out, he looks older than he did 5 years ago. He's thinner. He has more gray in his hair. He looks like someone who's spent 5 years thinking about everything he's done and everything he wants to do differently going forward. But when he sees me standing in the parking lot, waiting for him, his entire face changes. It's like he's just remembered that there's something worth living for. Hi, he says when he reaches me. Hi, I respond. You waited, he says, and there's disbelief in his voice like he still can't quite believe that I've actually done this. I waited, I confirm. I didn't deserve that. No, I agree, but I did it anyway. He pulls me into an embrace, and for the first time in 5 years I can actually feel him. Not through plexiglass, not across a prison visitation room, but actually hold him. And it's real, and it matters. We move into a modest apartment. Not because we've lost money. I've been financially successful, and Marcus still has assets that weren't seized, but because the penthouse feels like it belongs to someone else. It belongs to the version of Marcus who was running a criminal empire. It doesn't belong to the version of Marcus who's rebuilding his life from scratch. The apartment is simple. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small living room, a kitchen that's adequate but not fancy. It's the kind of place where normal people live. It's the kind of place that has nothing to do with empires or criminal enterprises or anything other than 2 people trying to build a life together. Marcus finds a job. He works for a real estate development company, starting in an entry-level position despite the fact that he's clearly overqualified. But he's on parole, and employers are cautious about hiring people with federal convictions. So he's grateful for the position, and he works hard, and within 2 years, he's promoted. The transformation is gradual but genuine. Marcus goes from being someone who's defined by his criminal past to being someone who's building something legitimate. He reads books about business ethics. He attends seminars about sustainable development. He becomes genuinely interested in building things that last rather than building an empire through violence and drugs. I'm there for all of it. I watch him struggle with the transition. I watch him miss the power and the money and the respect that came from being a cartel boss. I watch him learn to find satisfaction in legitimate work and genuine connection. Do you miss it? I ask him one night, about 6 months after his release. We're sitting on the balcony of our modest apartment, looking at the city lights. The money, the power, the danger. Every single day, he admits, but not enough to go back. Would you go back if you could? No, because I would lose you, and you're worth more than any empire. It's the same thing every reformed cartel boss probably says. But when Marcus says it, I believe him completely. One day, I'm thinking about how much I've changed since that first night when I approached Marcus with a terrible prank. I was a woman who was willing to lie to get ahead. I was a woman who valued financial security above emotional connection. I was a woman who didn't believe in genuine love. And then Marcus loved me anyway. He loved the fake gold digger version of me. He loved the real me that came after. He loved me through everything. And now I'm a woman who knows what real love is. I'm a woman who waited 5 years for a man in prison. I'm a woman who helped build a legitimate nonprofit alongside someone who used to deal drugs and kill people. I'm a woman who found everything by starting with a lie. Do you remember the first night you met me? I ask Marcus one day, about a year after his release. We're at my design studio, looking at a project I'm working on. Of course, he says. You told me you wanted my money and you'd laugh at my jokes and you'd pretend to like whatever I liked. And you thought that was attractive. I thought it was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to me, Marcus replies. I thought you were the first person I'd ever met who wanted something from me and was willing to be direct about it. And I loved that. I loved you immediately because you were so straightforward. Even though I was lying. Even though you were lying, he confirms. Because underneath the lie was something real. You were willing to be vulnerable about your desires. And that's actually very brave. I was trying to trick you, I point out. I know, but you did it with such style and such confidence that I didn't care if I was being tricked. I cared that I was interested in you. About 3 years after Marcus's release, he makes a significant business move. He convinces his current employer to let him take the lead on a major real estate development project, a residential community designed for sustainability and affordability. It's ambitious. It's risky. It's exactly the kind of project that Marcus should be taking on if he wants to rebuild his life as a legitimate businessman. I want to do this, he tells me, showing me the initial plans. I want to build something that actually helps people instead of something that hurts them. Then you should do it, I say. Over the next 2 years, Marcus transforms the project from a concept into a reality. He works with architects and contractors and city planners. He navigates zoning regulations and environmental reviews. He learns about green building practices and affordable housing models. The project becomes wildly successful. The residential community opens to great reviews. It's featured in architecture magazines. It wins awards for sustainable development. And Marcus becomes recognized in his industry not as a reformed cartel boss, but as a visionary developer who's building something meaningful. About 18 years after Marcus's release, he proposes to me. It's not a grand gesture, We're sitting in our living room, and he just tells me that he wants to marry me. I know I don't deserve you, he says. I know I've done terrible things, but I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? And I say yes, not because the proposal was elaborate or romantic in an obvious way, but because it was genuine, because it acknowledged the complicated reality of our relationship, because it was exactly Marcus, honest and humble and committed. We get married 6 months later in a small ceremony with family and close friends. We didn't have a big wedding. We didn't make it about showing off or proving anything. We just committed to each other in front of the people who mattered, and it was perfect. By year 10 after Marcus's release, we're thriving. His real estate company is successful and growing. My design studio has expanded to 4 locations. Our daughter is brilliant and kind and doesn't know that her father used to be a cartel boss. Do you think she'll ever find out? I ask Marcus one day. Probably, he says, but not from me, and not until she's old enough to understand that people aren't defined by their worst moments. What will you tell her? I'll tell her the truth, that I made terrible choices, that I hurt people, that I went to prison, that her mother waited for me, and that's the greatest love story I know. Marcus establishes a nonprofit that helps formerly incarcerated people find jobs and rebuild their lives. He funds it with significant portions of his legitimate business profits. He becomes deeply involved in the day-to-day operations. This is important to me, he tells me, explaining why he's willing to dedicate so much time and resources to this work. Because I was in prison, and if it wasn't for your support and my own determination, I could have ended up back there. Not everyone has that. Not everyone has someone waiting for them, so I want to be that person for other people. The nonprofit grows quickly. It starts in Miami and expands to other cities. It helps thousands of people transition from incarceration to productive members of society. I design the nonprofit's office spaces, creating environments that communicate hope and possibility. I design them in a way that makes formerly incarcerated people feel genuinely welcome rather than judged. By year 25 after Marcus's arrest, the nonprofit has expanded to 20 cities. It's serving approximately 5,000 people per year. Marcus is invited to speak at universities about criminal justice reform. He's quoted in major newspapers. He's considered one of the leading voices in discussions about redemption and rehabilitation. When he's approached about doing a speaking tour, he agrees. This is important, he tells me. I need to tell my story to as many people as possible. I need people to understand that change is real, that redemption is possible, that people who have made terrible mistakes can become genuinely good. So we embark on a 6-month speaking tour. We travel to 30 cities. At each stop, Marcus speaks to audiences ranging from 500 to 5,000 people. He talks about his journey from criminal to legitimate businessman. He answers questions from audience members. I accompany him on most of the tour, not as a speaker, but as a support person. I watch the audiences respond to his story. I see people crying. I see people nodding. I see people realizing that their own family members, people in prison, people who have done terrible things, might still have a chance at redemption. By year 30 of Marcus's release, we're in our middle years together. He's no longer doing the day-to-day design work. I've moved into a mentorship and strategic leadership role, but the company remains committed to the original mission, creating spaces that support human transformation. The nonprofit has become known for its approach. We win awards. We attract designers who share our values. We attract clients who understand that design can be about more than just aesthetics. Our grandchildren are now old enough to understand their grandfather's story completely. They know that he was involved in organized crime. They know that he went to prison, but they also know that he spent the rest of his life trying to be better. They know that he helped thousands of people. When our granddaughter is old enough to understand, we tell her the truth about her grandfather's past. Grandpa was involved in organized crime, I explain. He went to prison, but he changed. He became a good person, and he spent his life since then trying to help other people. Did he hurt people? Our granddaughter asks with the brutal honesty of a 12-year-old. Yes, Marcus says, answering for himself. I hurt a lot of people, and I'm sorry for that, but I've spent my life since then trying to make amends. Did you kill people? She asks. Yes, he admits. I did, and that's something I have to live with forever. Are you sorry? Every single day, he says. By year 35 after Marcus's release, the nonprofit has served approximately 50,000 people. Marcus is in his mid-70s now. His body is showing signs of age. He's developing arthritis. He moves more slowly. He travels less. But his mind is still sharp. His commitment to the work is still strong. We spend more time together now. We take walks in the morning. We read in the afternoon. We talk in the evening. We hold each other at night. Our life together has become simpler but more meaningful. We don't need grand gestures anymore. We just need each other. By year 40 of the nonprofit's existence, approximately 10,000 people have completed educational programs through the nonprofit. Many have gone on to college. Some have become teachers, counselors, and social workers. Some have started their own businesses. Marcus writes a memoir. It's honest and unflinching about his criminal past. The book is published by a major publisher. It becomes a bestseller. It's used in criminal justice classes. It's referenced in policy discussions about redemption and rehabilitation. More importantly, it becomes a lifeline for people. Formerly incarcerated people read it and realize that change is possible. Family members of people in prison read it and understand that their loved ones might still have a chance. In the acknowledgments, Marcus writes, "This book exists because Cassidy loved me when I didn't deserve to be loved. She believed in my capacity for change before I believed in it myself. This is our story as much as it is mine." By their mid-80s, Marcus and I are acutely aware that our time together is limited. Marcus has developed some health issues. His heart isn't as strong as it used to be. He tires more easily. I'm also showing signs of aging. My energy isn't what it was. I move slower. But we're still here. We're still together. We're still in love. We spend our time doing simple things. We sit on the porch and watch the sunset. We read together. We talk about our lives. We hold each other. We don't talk about death directly, but we both know it's coming. We both know that our time together is finite. But that knowledge also makes every moment feel more precious. Marcus establishes the Second Chances Foundation with a significant portion of his estate. The foundation will continue his work in criminal justice reform even after his death. It will fund scholarships for formerly incarcerated people pursuing higher education. It will fund the nonprofit. It will support organizations working on rehabilitation programs. I want to make sure that the work continues, Marcus tells me when he's establishing the foundation. I want to make sure that people are still being helped long after I'm gone. He also writes one more book in his mid-80s. It's a reflection on 40 years of redemption work. The book is philosophical and personal. It explores questions about whether redemption is ever truly complete. It explores the nature of love and commitment. It explores what it means to spend your entire life trying to be better. In the final chapter, Marcus writes about me. The greatest redemption in my life isn't the nonprofit or the business or the speaking or the teaching. The greatest redemption is that I was able to love and be loved by someone genuinely. I was able to build a life based on mutual respect and commitment rather than power and control. That's the real proof that I changed. That's the real evidence of redemption. Over the years, my design projects have become increasingly focused on spaces that support transformation. One of my most important projects was designing a cancer treatment center where patients could experience healing. Another was designing a domestic violence shelter where survivors could feel safe. Another was designing affordable housing that communicated dignity. The nonprofit's impact has been documented extensively. The organization has served approximately 50,000 people. It's expanded to 60 cities. It's changed how people think about criminal justice. Marcus has mentored countless formerly incarcerated people who have gone on to build legitimate lives and businesses. One of his mentees, a man named Jerome, became CEO of a company that helps formerly incarcerated people find employment. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Jerome tells Marcus at an event celebrating the nonprofit's 35-year anniversary. You gave me the tools and the support to build a life I never thought was possible. Now I'm doing the same for other people. I'm continuing the legacy of belief that you started. My design company has also expanded significantly. I've mentored approximately 50 designers through my fellowship program. These designers are working on meaningful projects around the world. One of my mentees, Amara from South Africa, is designing spaces for nonprofits serving vulnerable populations. Your design philosophy has become my life's work, Amara tells me. I'm using the principles you taught me to create spaces for nonprofits in South Africa. I'm designing spaces that support transformation. It's the most meaningful work I could be doing. I'm 90 years old, and I'm writing this retrospective on my life and my relationship with Marcus. Marcus passed away 2 years ago at 88. I've had time to process his death, to understand what his life meant, to appreciate what we built together. When I look back on our relationship, I see it as a series of choices. Choices to be honest, choices to be vulnerable, choices to believe in each other's capacity for transformation, choices to commit to building something real and meaningful. I started by lying to Marcus about who I was, but the lie was really just the entry point for the truth. Once I started lying, I was forced to confront what my actual values were, what I actually wanted, who I actually was, and I discovered that I wanted love, real love, not the transactional, financial security-based relationship I was pretending to want. And once I was honest with myself, I could be honest with Marcus. And once I was honest with him, genuine love became possible. After Marcus died, I found a series of letters that he'd written to be opened at different points after his death. One letter was for me, to be opened immediately after he died. My dearest Cassidy, the letter began, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably grieving. I want to tell you a few things. First, thank you. Thank you for every moment of our life together. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for waiting for me in prison. Thank you for building a life with me. Second, I want you to know that my life was redeemed because of you. The nonprofit, the business, the speaking, the teaching, all of that emerged from your belief in my capacity to change. You made my redemption possible. Third, I want you to keep living. Don't spend the rest of your life grieving me. Live fully, keep designing, keep mentoring, keep making the world more beautiful and more just. Finally, I want you to know that I love you. Even now, even as I'm dying, my greatest love is for you. You are the greatest gift my life has ever received. The nonprofit that Marcus founded has become a permanent institution. There's a Second Chances Foundation that will provide funding for criminal justice reform work indefinitely. There's a Marcus Grant that funds scholarships for formerly incarcerated people pursuing higher education. Universities offer courses about Marcus's work. Criminal justice reform organizations cite his nonprofit as a model. Policy makers reference his ideas when creating rehabilitation programs. My design company has also become a permanent institution. The Cassidy Design Fellowship continues to fund emerging designers doing social impact work. Universities teach my design philosophy. Designers cite my work as influential. The spaces I've designed continue to serve people. The Cancer Treatment Center helps patients. The Domestic Violence Shelter helps survivors. The affordable housing continues to house people with dignity. What have I learned from 47 years with Marcus? First lesson, love is a choice. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you choose every single day. Second lesson, people are capable of profound change. Marcus was a criminal cartel boss who became a force for good. That transformation wasn't magical. It required work and commitment and belief, but it was real. Third lesson, honesty is essential. My relationship with Marcus was saved by honesty. Fourth lesson, the work we do and the spaces we create matter. Fifth lesson, commitment matters more than passion. The passion fades, but the commitment can sustain a relationship through decades of challenges. On what might be one of their final days together, Marcus and I are sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. We've been together for 47 years. We've been married for 27 years. We've built a life together that's real and genuine and meaningful. I want to thank you, Marcus says. For what? I ask. For coming into my life as a prank. For staying even when I revealed who I really was. For waiting for me in prison. For building a life with me. You're welcome, I reply, but I need to say something too. I want to thank you for loving me even when I was lying to you. For seeing through my bullshit and loving the real me anyway. For showing me what redemption looks like. We did it, Marcus says. We took a terrible start and built something beautiful. We did, I agree. We sit together as the sun sets. Our life together has been complicated and difficult and beautiful. It's been the opposite of a traditional love story. But it's been real, and I'm grateful for every moment of it. At 90 years old, looking back on my life, I have a few pieces of wisdom I want to share. First, don't underestimate the power of a single moment. My entire life changed because of a bar prank and a dare. One moment of courage led to 47 years of partnership and meaning. Second, love genuinely. Don't love conditionally or transactionally. Love with your whole heart, completely and fully. Third, create beauty in the world. Whether through design or writing or teaching or any other means, create things that make the world more beautiful. Fourth, believe in people. Believe in their capacity to change. Believe in their capacity to transform. That belief can be life-changing for them. Fifth, do work that matters. Find work that's meaningful and that affects the world. Sixth, relationships are the most important thing. Not money, not status, not achievement. Relationships with people you love and who love you. I'm sitting on the porch where Marcus and I sat so many times together. Marcus has been gone for 2 years, but his presence is still here, in the nonprofit that continues, in the students who studied his work, in the people whose lives he transformed. My presence is here too, in the spaces I designed, in the designers I mentored, in the students who studied my design philosophy. Our story is here, a story about a prank that became genuine love, about a criminal who became redeemed, about a woman who believed in transformation. I want to continue mentoring young designers. I want to continue advocating for criminal justice reform in Marcus's name. I want to continue creating beauty in the world. As I write these final words, I'm thinking about how to end this story. I could end it with sadness, with the death of Marcus, with the acknowledgement of loss. But I don't think that would be honest. Yes, Marcus died. Yes, I grieve his death. But our story doesn't end with death. It continues through impact. It continues through legacy. It continues through the people whose lives we touched. So I'm ending this story with gratitude. Gratitude for every moment with Marcus. Gratitude for the ability to create meaningful work. Gratitude for the opportunity to help people transform. I'm ending this story with hope. Hope that the work will continue. Hope that more people will find their own redemption. Hope that more people will create beauty in the world. I'm ending this story with love. Deep, genuine, lasting love for Marcus and for the life we built together. At 90 years old, at the end of my life, looking back at what I've accomplished, I started by lying to someone at a bar. I ended up in genuine love with that person for 47 years. I started as a woman who didn't believe in redemption. I ended as a woman who'd witnessed and supported profound transformation. I started as a designer who thought design was just about beauty. I ended as a designer who understood that design is about creating conditions for human transformation. And I'm grateful. Grateful for every moment. Grateful for the choice to be honest. Grateful for the choice to believe in Marcus. Grateful for the life we built together. That's the end of the story, but the impact continues.